So next thing, then English childcare. Yeah, these two go hand in hand. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is adopting a reduction system. And I don't know what the technical term is. I can't remember. I know it's definitely not in the UK as far as I know. I know they reduce your benefits once you start earning money, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the type of system where it's like, if you're able to work, if you start going on benefits, a lot of these people they're playing the system. They get so used to the fact that they can just go get benefits, go to the job center, say, oh, I've applied for this job and this job and this job. They know they're not going to get it, or they probably sabotage the process along the way. But if they can just go give the impression that they're actually looking for jobs, some of them think, oh yeah, they could just be on benefits regardless. And that's not fair, because it's taxpayers' money, people who are working hard, paying their taxes. Taxes are high for them. These people aren't paying, these benefit people are not paying taxes, and they're benefiting from off of this. And this is like a game to them. They go to the job center, they show, oh yeah, I've applied for this and job. They go home for maybe another 2 weeks. Maybe they'll have it was a restart scheme I was on. I'll just say it. Maybe they'll have a restart appointment, and then they'll just sort of give the employment advisor an impression that they were searching for this and that job, and it's just a system to them. That's the whole point I'm trying to say. And I feel like from the day someone actually applies to, somebody actually gets granted benefits or universal credits, what they're calling it now, I think after a certain period, I'll say people should really only be on benefits for like a maximum of 2 years. After, in fact, this could even be too generous. It could be less than that, but let's just say 2 years. After 1 year, the money should start to reduce. That will prompt them and motivate them to get the job, because I know there are people who come to the appointments, who came to the appointments really, and they would make excuses. They'll say, oh, I had a dentist appointment, that's why I couldn't come. But then it's like, if you had a job, you really wouldn't be doing this, would you? You know, if they had jobs, they would find a way to work around it. But because they don't respect benefit job center appointments, they don't respect restart appointments. They just feel like, oh, I can just book a dentist appointment for the same time, and then I can not go to that appointment and just say, oh, I had a dentist appointment, and things like that. So there are people who are playing the system. They have mental barriers that they've created, and they're so used to getting away with it, especially being on a job center, that they feel this is just going to be another situation. And the reason why I said this goes hand in hand with my next point. There's an assessment they call work capability assessment, which is an assessment for people an assessment to test whether someone is capable for work. A lot of people get the work capability assessment done because they genuinely have a disability, and I haven't met anyone who has loss of eyesight or loss of hearing. I don't think they would be referred to the scheme in the first place, to be honest. But there are some people who their disability may not be so obvious, perhaps because they can still walk down the road or they can still speak, but it's more of an internal thing. And that includes anxiety and depression. And I'm not trying to dismiss the people who have gone through it, because I know what anxiety and depression feels. Simply having a job, in their eyes, they feel like simply because I'm not allowing them to not work because of anxiety and depression, that means I don't understand it, or I didn't understand it. And I do. But anyone who has gotten from one side to another of anxiety and depression will tell you for a fact that nothing is going to change if you do nothing. So as an employment advisor, I couldn't encourage them to be in the same place.꯫ You're seeing this appointment as a barrier, but imagine the employment advisor who has to come to work every single day. We had 50 to 60 people in our caseload, and some people are likely to get belligerent when you challenge them, you call them out on their crap, and you say, why would you book this appointment when you knew we had this time? I booked this appointment 4 weeks ago, and now you couldn't book another time with a dentist or with the I don't know, whatever dentist, and some people start to get belligerent because they want the entire appointment to be distracted by their emotions so that you don't hold them accountable. And imagine having to be an employment advisor and then having to go through that, or you're going to expect it because you have a certain appointment the next day, but you still power through. So I'm not dismissing how they're feeling. I do know how they're feeling, but nothing changes if you don't change. So I couldn't encourage them to simply be stagnant. I couldn't encourage them to be stagnant. But in their eyes, an easy way out was to go and get a work capability assessment. So actually this thought just crossed my mind, perhaps counseling as well. Counseling as well as getting a part-time job or something, because some of them would use that as a reason. And it is a real illness, to be honest, but nothing changes if you don't. If you allow this person to stay stuck, nothing is going to change, because it takes a lot of effort. It might take a lot of effort from them to be able to go out into the world as well, but they need to keep taking steps, and they're not taking those steps. That's why it's good that they have an employment advisor in their life to be able to push them in a way. But anyway, the reason why I'm saying that is because that the payment reduction system should exist. It really should exist. Maybe after a year it starts to decrease. But then there are people who I know who have had the work capability assessment done, and they genuinely can't work, but they have been deemed fit for work. And obviously, if you say they are fit for work and then this system is in place of reduction, obviously it would work against them, because soon enough they won't have any income. So in addition to this payment system, perhaps after a year, it starts to reduce by like £100 a month or every quarter or something like that. That would definitely motivate them to get a job. That would definitely motivate them to become creative, because if all they need to just give an excuse, blow off the job center appointment, blow off the employment advisor restart appointment, make an excuse for the work capability, they never have to work. Why do they never have to work? At least until the next reassessment. If they don't have to do any of that, if it's that simple for them, it's like there's no incentive for them to try to be better, try. How else can I be clear? Anyway, obviously, so if someone is deemed fit for work, and then the work capability assessment then says, if the work capability assessment, I'm just gonna say WCA, or the assessment, because that's a mouthful. If the assessment says they're fit for work, but they are not indeed fit for work, and the doctor can corroborate that, then, obviously they're going to be left at a disadvantage, because they're not going to have an income. So my next point is, which they kind of go hand in hand, I don't know the specifics of the work capability assessment, if I'm going to be honest with you. The process that I knew at the time that I was there is an application was done, and an assessment was done. I think because of COVID, the appointments were somehow done over the phone, which I don't know how you assess somebody's capability to work over the phone. I don't know how you assess that. It's like all you need to just do is sound like, oh my God, I got pain in my spine. The doctor said this, the doctor said that. I've got a sick note. Like that, I don't understand how that made sense, to be honest. But perhaps there is a part of it that I don't understand. But the work capability assessment process needs to be thorough. It needs to be thorough. Like, maybe the government isn't funding, maybe the government is putting money in the wrong place, but they need to make that process very thorough. Like, even get an MRI, get an X-ray if needed. Have a government appointed person follow this person to their appointment. Have the doctor check them out. Tell them specifically the symptoms, like, they've got a hernia, or something's wrong with the disc in their spine. They've got arthritis, or they've got this, or something like that. Have someone corroborate this thoroughly, not just a doctor's note, not just anything. Like, speak to the person. Because obviously it's not fair, because there are people who aren't fit for work that are deemed fit for work, and there are people who are fit for work but do not want to work. I know that things like mental health is a very big issue, and it can be debilitating. It can be debilitating. I think that's the word. It can be debilitating, and they know that it's not something that once you mention that people can dismiss, because now you're going to sound like you're insensitive, you don't care, you're being harsh. In fact, I bet you some people take offense to what I'm saying now. But they know that once they mention that, it can't be dismissed. So they use that. I mean, we can't lie and act as if there's perfect people in the UK or there's perfect people everywhere in the world. There are people who will actually take advantage of the fact that, mental health is a big issue, and once you mention it, you can't ignore it. So they try to, use that as an excuse why they can't work. That's why the work capability assessment needs to be thorough. It needs to be thorough, more thorough, not a phone call, face to face. And if God forbid a pandemic happens again, get a hazmat suit, because it can't be a case that people who are not fit for work are deemed fit for work, and people who are fit for work know the ins and outs, know how to take advantage and manipulate the system, and then they're deemed unfit for work. Because to be honest, it's not fair. It's taxpayers' money. It's people like me, people like us. We're paying our bills, paying our taxes. It's coming straight out of our paycheck, and it's being given to these people. So I don't see any reason to be any less straightforward and forthright with this solution, because it's the money that I'm working for, really. No one likes taxes, but we have to pay anyway. So to see that someone's receiving that, and it's that you know that they're capable of working, but they just don't want to work. How can you be sympathetic to something like that? Especially when after all of their excuses, now they say, oh, mental health. And you know deep down inside they're lying. So I really hope I've made that point very clear. Make the work capability assessment thorough. Have a person assess them, an actual nurse or an actual doctor. If not, have someone follow them to the appointments to corroborate the story, because some people do not want to work, and they know that if they put up enough of a show of walking slow, like maybe we go to get them from the reception to our appointments, they're walking slow down a hallway, then if they put up enough of a show, it will be convincing. And there are people who we have seen who have been limping or walking very slow in the office, and the second they get out the office, they just start walking fine, because for them, no need to get a job now. So make that thorough, and adopt that reduction system in place that would make sure that the people who genuinely cannot work are not being at a disadvantage. And if everything else, that the English and the childcare is being put in place, I think a lot more people they will have more of an incentive to be in a workforce. I won't say they will definitely be in a workforce, but they will definitely have more of an incentive, because when you know that you're not going to have another food to eat, and you know there's no one you can threaten to get some more money, especially not a government worker. You just get arrested, obviously, but there's no way there's no other way you're gonna eat. That will definitely motivate them, if I'm gonna be honest. And in addition to that, counseling as well, so that the second someone says they have anxiety or depression, to be honest, I feel like the way the NHS is free, counseling and therapy should be free. But I know it's not cheap, but it will be a better use of the money that have been given to people for years in benefits, that will go to counseling and therapy for someone else. I think we don't even need to save money or increase any taxes. I think if they start cutting it short right now, that the extra money that they would have given to someone for 5 years, someone who's capable of working, just doesn't want to work, the money they would have given to them will go to someone else who can get therapy, speak to someone, get their trauma out, deal with their trauma, process their trauma, and they can get back in the workforce. But the fact that they cannot get money to eat is a major driving force. So yeah, that's that. And the last point I put here is for people with learning disabilities. There are people with learning disabilities with dyslexia, and I can't think of all of them, to be honest. I don't know all of them. I probably should have researched a few, but there are people who are autistic. I know that can really stop them from being in the workforce. The government needs to find a way to, I won't say get them in the workforce just for the sake of getting them in the field of working, but their lives are different to ours, and we can only imagine the ways that our lives are different. We can only imagine, unless you have someone autistic in your life. And we all know that even though their lives are different, their mind works different. They have a superpower just like everybody else, and they should be able to do that thing that they love, whether it's painting or knitting. And I'm sure this is very generic. I'm sure it can be more complicated more complicated than that, because I don't know if you guys have heard of, there was this autistic guy who just took a helicopter ride over New York, and he drew the entire skyline from memory, guys. If I can find it, I will attach to this video. He drew an entire skyline from memory, details, windows, everything. So imagine all the skills that all of them can master or already just have naturally to them. We are just we don't know how to deal with them in our normal, but what is normal to normal is really subjective. Normal is what we've all decided is normal. Because if we all considered it socially acceptable to just be jumping out in the street for no reason, just like woohoo, obviously everyone's just going to go about their day. But we have all in a way decided what normal is, and normal for them will be different. So there needs to be jobs for people with learning disabilities. So once they're doing the thing that they love, they can have the enjoyment. Like I said, I don't know what their day-to-day is, if I'm going to be honest. I don't know what it's like for them. I'm only assuming. But, they can do that thing that they love every single day. They can earn a living off of it. If it's painting, they're painting. Oh, imagine drawing a skyline. Do you know how much that drawing will be worth? Because it wasn't on a plain canvas. It was on a wide canvas. He drew, it was so beautiful. Now, imagine if someone's going to buy that. We're not buying that for £100. No. At least 50,000. At least, because the amount of detail and effort that went into that, the mind of the person it came from, at least. And we can start an auction. It can go all the way to 50 million. There's no cap on that. But yeah. So these are the things. There needs to be jobs for people with learning disabilities, and for the people who are their caregivers, who work with them on a daily basis, they should make the suggestions so that they can earn a living. And yeah, and this is just a random bonus thing. Okay, I don't know if you think about it. Back to the idea that I said of normal. Things being normal is what we all created. If you think about it, who says we all have to retire at 65? Like, who made that a thing? If you think about it, it's just a made up rule. It is not in the Bible. God did not say that. I mean, God called Abraham when he was 75. So who is anyone to say that once you're 65, you're useless to the workplace? Imagine how much more money companies can make. Imagine how much more money the country can make if retired people are still contributing to the workplace. If they can still do the heavy thinking, because a lot of them are still sharp. It doesn't mean you're dumb, like, or they go dull. Like, a lot of them are still sharp. If you're still sharp, why not have them still make certain decisions? Perhaps they can maybe not be at the forefront, because at the end of the day, it's a different generation. Different things applied when they were growing up, and different things apply now. But if they are still ready to work, like, maybe now that they have gotten to a certain age, they can choose their hours or something that they have to commit to still, even if it's at least 10 hours a week. But who says the retirement age has to be 65? Perhaps from that age you can get your pension, but maybe that's why if you think about it, maybe that's why the life expectancy is like 80 something. I think I think he's 70 or 80 something, because when you've been working practically all your life, 40 plus years of your life, and now all of a sudden you're retired and people just think you like knitting or gardening, and you have nothing to do. You're so bored of life that perhaps they're so bored they just want to die. Because when you're that bored, you can't go and get a job. You can't apply for this job or that job, unless it's a job you've been doing for ages and you just told them, like, listen guys, I want to continue. I don't find it hard and I want to retire. But you can't expect them to go and apply for a new job and they won't get rejection. So I just thought I'd put that out there. The retirement age does not have to be 65. Like, why should it even, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I guess retirement is retirement, but companies are very discriminatory against people who are over that age. And some people are still well sharp, can still contribute immensely to the workforce, even if it's not all of them. Imagine certain things that they can just, I can't think of it right now, but I know they exist. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on all those things. And I really hope this video reaches the right people, because everything I've said is relevant. Everything has come from my experience. It's real. It's still happening, even though I'm not in that job anymore. So I really hope it gets to the government officials. I even hope it gets to the Prime Minister, because why not? Why not? He can't relate to any of these issues. He's so rich, he can afford to have a nanny follow him around all day. I don't know if he has kids, but a lot of the people in Parliament, the government, the decision makers, they can't relate to this. So they may not even know these are issues, but they are issues. And I've seen them, and you can have sympathy. By the end of the day, I did have a job to do, so I couldn't take sympathy I had to, I mean, I could take sympathy, sorry, but I had to, but not to the extent that I allow them to be stagnant. So I had to keep pushing them to be better and have faith that despite the fact that you've got childcare needs, you can get a part-time job. It will come. It's happened before, and there's no reason why you should be the exception. So that's all I have for my thoughts on that. Thank you for watching.